What is up, everybody? Good morning and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Mythic Plus. Today we are going to get into a Rookery 13 on my Paladin. I'm sorry I've made you guys wait for prop Paladin content for a while. I've been playing a lot of different tanks this season, so this character is, I'll eventually be hopefully uploading more on this character as we're ending out the season here. So we'll do a pretty standard first pull. We'll chuck an Avenger Shield over on the right-hand side and then get everything nice and gathered up. We're not going to be using any sort of major cooldowns. We're going to pop our Trinket and then our Eye of Tear for the start of this pull, and then we are just going to kind of wait before the Eye of Tear goes away. We're going to just pop everything now because I don't really need any defensives or anything like that. I should have committed less on this pull, but I use Guardian of Kings and an Ardent Defender just to make sure that I'm not taking very much damage here. And we take out the pull pretty easily. We lose our DK there, but it's no big deal. We're absolutely blasting on prop Paladin, so we take out that pull pretty easily. First 10% of count is is going really, really well, and the patrol on the right-hand side here is going to be our next target. So we're looking to throw an Avenger Shield at the Thunderer there to make sure that he gets into the mob and gathers up nice and easily. We'll Eye of Tear again, get a little bit of damage off the rip, and then use Divine Toll to make sure that we are getting tons of aggro. And then our rotation is pretty much going to just be using Avenger Shield on cooldown, weaving in some Word of Glories to increase our block chance, and then using Blessed Hammer, which is macroed to our Shield of Righteousness. I'll leave the macros in the description below because I feel like a lot of people have been wanting to know what those are. They really are just like /use Judgment /use Shield of Righteousness, just because Shield of Righteousness is not on a global cooldown. So whenever I'm spamming Judgment or Blessed Hammer, it just automatically casts Shield of Righteousness, and I don't need to worry about pressing that extra button, even though I do have it bound. So we're going into this next pull here, popping Trinket right off the rip, and then getting all of these mobs gathered up. We get a nice King's proc, so that'll be very nice off the rip. And these mobs actually end up kind of hitting me like a freight train. I'm kind of out of practice on this character, and I'm actually missing one of my my good trinkets on this character too. So we're going to use Divine Toll, kind of separate from Wings, just to get some extra damage out there. And as you can see, we're just doing a ton of damage here. Just going to have faith in my healer, but also pop a health potion just to make sure that I'm staying pretty healthy. Pop Ardent Defender to make sure that we're taking some less damage than ordinarily we would be. And we get another nice King's proc there to diffuse some damage. Throw some Hammers of Wrath in there, and then the usual rotation, making sure to get any kicks and interrupts that we can using Avenger Shield and using our kick. So right here, the patrol is in another good spot. We're going to make sure that we get a silence on that Thunderer to start this off, making sure that that mob is going to come right into us very, very easily. We're going to use our kick on one of the things already and then set our sights on the Rook Tender here. We're going to keep using Avenger Shield to just try and get random silences going out, use our kick on cooldown, and then we're going to be using our stun there just to keep this Thunderer from doing stuff. And this pull goes pretty well as well. This room is honestly pretty boring, if I'm being honest with you. It feels like you can't really do a whole lot of extra stuff here just because these mobs are pretty dangerous, but interrupting whatever you can and making sure to pull in this exact order just to make sure that you don't get too many Thunderers in a pull is always very, very helpful. So we'll use our kick off the rip, kick a Thunderer, and then we'll pop an Avenger Shield on the other Thunderer, and then we will use our blind to interrupt again. We'll start thinking about using Avenger Shield on this other Thunderer again over here. And we do have kick up as well. We get a blind, we get a silence on that Thunderer. We use our kick as well. And then we're going to be thinking about using our stun here. Or at least I should have used my stun here, but this pull goes down pretty easily. Again, just using Avenger Shield on cooldown, especially in these packs where you have a lot more kicks. Paladin can be very, very strong in just reducing the amount of damage. We get through that pack, no big deal. And then we'll go towards the first boss here. So I might actually skip ahead just because Kyrios is pretty much, if you've seen it once, you've seen it 100 times. There's not anything crazy that we do on this. I just try and not move very much for these AoEs just to make sure that I'm not... I see some people just run in a specific direction, and sometimes that can go poorly. So I try and move just a little bit in a direction that I see no one else is in, and then making sure not to stand on the corners of the room, stand on the flat sides of the square here, and then just move with the boss. So that's really about the whole fight. I'm just going to skip ahead because it takes a while on a 13. So we're going to take the feathers down here, and we're going to go ahead and pull these oracles into the diffusers here as well. We're going to pop King's Wings, Eye of Tyr, Divine Toll, absolutely everything. And then we're going to silence, or we're going to stun the one oracle while the Attracting Shadows is going out. And then we are going to try and use all of our stops to just make sure that Attracting Shadows, while it's moving our healer around, it's doing a lot of damage. We want to make sure there's no additional Void Bolt casts going out during that burst phase. We're going to use our blind here to try and interrupt these oracles as well. And then once the oracles go down, these Attracting Shadows become significantly less dangerous. You can just line of sight the Arcing Voids behind pillars, so that doesn't do any damage, and then you just have to heal the Arcing Void. So, and our team does a very, very good job at doing that, so the healer is able to keep us up pretty easily that whole time. Not a whole need for any big defensives. The kind of awkward part here is that we are going a little bit too fast as of right now. So as you can see, there's about 2 minutes left on Lust in the top right-hand corner. So we are actually hoping to have it up before this next pull, just so we can double pull and pull this entire room. We're going to end up using it on the boss, I believe. Just because, I don't know, I think I've also gotten a little bit scared in pugs doing the bigger pulls, just because it seems like a good way to wipe your group. So I think Lust will come up just barely in time, or we might have like 30 seconds or something like that on it. But I think I was just trying to be safe in this run. I was like, yeah, I don't want to break this key at all. No chance for it. So we're just going to go ahead and do the safe pulls and go from there. Ordinarily, I would recommend if you have cooldowns, if you have Bloodlust, you can do the next double pull in this next room coming up. So we'll take out these Crushers. This is going to be a very, very chill pull, so good reset pull after the scary one before that. And since we have 40 seconds on Lust, we're just going to do this double Oracle, double Crusher, Rook Guard pull. And make sure to take this out and not get any of the Void Diffusers in along with this. This just makes it a lot cleaner, a lot safer. As you can see, no one in the group is taking a huge amount of damage, so we don't really have to worry about dying in any sort of way. We take out both of the oracles, so now we're feeling pretty safe. I still have wings running, so I go ahead and grab these diffusers, and now we don't have to worry about those errant casts. We don't have to worry about the Rook Guard casts or anything like that. It's just these Crushers, which don't really hit for a whole lot, and then the Attracting Shadows, Arcing Voids. So we're basically just still fighting these two diffusers. So makes this pull a lot easier. Still end up using Lay on Hands and a couple defensive cooldowns. We're going to sacrifice, use Blessing of Sacrifice on the healer. But everyone's going to be pretty chill. The priest dropping a dome in the back over there to help keep the range DPS safe. And there we go. And we also are focusing one of the Void Diffusers so that the one dies before the other one, which is definitely what you want to do. You don't want to have to deal with double Attracting Shadows both times in a row. That can just be super annoying. So now there's no chance that we will die from this pull at all. We have Lust coming up for this boss, which depending on your comp can sometimes be better, just because this boss takes an absolute eternity if you are maybe less single target inclined. We'll get right on in here. We'll throw an Avenger Shield on one side, pop a Judgment on the other one. We'll zap them with the electricity, leave a couple Blessed Hammers and a Consecration in our wake to make sure that we get plenty of threat on these civilians. And then we will go into the second boss. I'm probably also going to skip ahead on this boss too after we do a couple of phases, just because it will be the same thing pretty much every time. The DK is going to pass the dot to me. I tell the mage to Lust because I don't know why we are waiting so long on Lust. And yeah, I'm actually too focused, so I actually ping him again even though Lust has already been popped. And there we go. So we'll just go ahead and get away from the Crush Reality. Watch out for those beams. And I don't really take any damage as far as like tank damage on this fight. I'm pretty much able to keep myself alive even on Prop Paladin. Unless I have like a bunch of stacks of the dot or something like that. So I'm able to throw out a couple heals if people need it. I'm going to get the dot the second time. The DK passes it to me, and then I will pass it to the priest right there. We're also going to sack him when the dot goes on him, so we're going to be able to keep him safer than he ordinarily would be, even though it's a very healable amount of damage when you only have one stack. We'll run away from the suck in, and yeah, we're just going to rinse and repeat. So I'm going to skip ahead on this boss. Again, you just want to stand near the people that you want to pass the dot to. Make sure no one takes it twice, and we'll go into this next pull right here. So this Void Ascendant, this pull is going to be pretty simple. The Crushers we've seen before. If you don't know what these Void Ascendants do, they just do these Void Bolt casts. Kick as many of those as you can, and then they'll do this Feasting Void cast, which puts a pretty mean healing absorb on everybody. Healer just needs to deal with it, but it's something that you don't want to overlap with other mechanics. It can be rather dangerous. So yeah, kicking the Void Bolts, though, really the only thing that you are guaranteed to need to heal is the Crushers randomly going towards people, and then the Feasting Void. So we'll keep that in mind as we go into this final room, but this run is going super well. Again, random pugs. Yeah, we'll take it, honestly. When runs go this smoothly with pugs, it's always a blessing for sure. So we'll go ahead and finish off this Crusher, drop down into this this pit right here. That would be the place where you could do a Parasol skip if you want to do this with a coordinated group or people that you just know have the Parasol. But me, I'm just going to go ahead and do this fun pull. Think this is always more entertaining to do. So we're going to pop Trinket, pop Toll, pop Ardent Defender, make sure that we don't die, and then we're just going to absolutely blast on this pull just to pad the damage meters a little bit. Rip a quick 6 million DPS, and then leave all the bodies of the afflicted civilians over there, and then go into this Consuming Void. Unfortunately, I do lose aggro on the Void Crusher, so I have to run back over and chuck a shield at him. But we want to make sure to keep these Void Crushers away from all of the bodies of the civilians. That's why we kill them over there, and then we move over to this Void Stone here. As you can see, he's only got 14 stacks of that buff. And then he's going to use another Void Extraction here. So that'll be the second one. He'll get a few more stacks, and then he will start doing his pulsing AoE that is unavoidable here in a second. And once that pulsing AoE is over, that's when we're allowed to do our next pull. So he's going to use Void Extraction here. So he's already used his Void Extractions that we need to worry about. So he's not going to consume any more corpses. That's when we can safely go grab these civilians from across the room. And we're just going to heal the Unleashed Darkness, but the civilians aren't going to do anything to the rest of the party. So we'll give the mage a cleave target and keep killing this Void Stone. Once this Void Stone is dead, then we are free to move on. Personals are always good on that as well, so if you're looking for a time to use personals, that is definitely when you want to be using those. So now we have the Void Ascendant and a couple Crushers. Crushers we've seen before. The Void Ascendant, we are going to play around that Feasting Void cast that we mentioned before. So we're going to wait for that to go out. Umbral Wave is going to happen. And I guess I haven't talked a whole lot about rotation, but this dungeon I'm not super worried about dying. So if I'm ever worried about dying, either Ardent Defender as you're pulling right at the start of the pull just to make sure that you don't die. You can use your cooldowns pretty liberally, especially on Prop Paladin. A lot of them come up pretty quickly. Eye of Tear is always a good way to start off the pull as well. Gives you a big heal, gives you a big shield, and it gives you a ton of damage reduction on nearby mobs as well. So it's not like Guardian Druid where you can just pretty much bark skin on pull every single time. But yeah, I use my cooldowns pretty liberally. As you can see, I'll use Ardent Defender there just to keep taking less damage. Give our healer a good respite there. And then I see Feasting Void go out. So Feasting Void is going to be down for a little while. The Oracle or the Ascendant is not going to cast that again. So we can safely pull this Void Stone here. And we don't have to worry about those AoEs overlapping the big AoE from the Void Stone or the Ascendant. And we always want to make sure that our team is able to hit as many mobs at a time as we possibly can, just to give them maximum cleave potential. So we'll go ahead and get that next Void Extraction here, and we can't really pull the next mob until everything in this current pull is dead. These Crushers are just kind of annoying, so if you're ranged, maybe even stack up towards melee just to make sure that those don't go into Narnia, especially if you are in a primarily melee comp, if you have a couple melee and one ranged and a healer or something like that. Make sure that your melee are able to cleave, and then we get the Unleashed Darkness, which is that unavoidable, just pulsing AoE. Healer just has to sort of deal with it. and we'll just survive this and go into the next pull there. This one is going to hurt a bit more just because I moved the Void Stone closer to all the dead bodies over on the right-hand side of my screen there. But still very, very doable. Healer is an absolute trooper, and we'll go ahead into this last pull with this Void Ascendant and this Void Stone. So feeling pretty good on time. One more pull, and then the boss with 10 minutes left. Very, very fast run. And we'll get that Feasting Voidcast going out. And the primary target is probably going to be the Ascendant. We don't want to get that second Feasting Voidcast out when the Unleashed Darkness is coming out. So Unleashed Darkness is going to keep on going. Going to be hitting us pretty heavy here. And the healer is once again going to be able to keep people alive very easily, but the Feasting Voidcast is going to go over the top here. So the Hunter's going to get taken pretty low. Very, very dangerous. I'll end up lay on handsing the Hunter just to make sure he doesn't get ticked, and we don't have to res him in between this pull and the boss. And we'll take out this Ascendant and go from there. So we'll finish up our enemy forces, and the boss will spawn. Trying to save any kind of DPS cooldowns that we can for the intermission phase. But I'm going to go over here into this corner because I can be pretty much self-sustained on this boss. I'm going to pop Trinket here and actually use our cheat death there. Getting King's procced accidentally. And we know we have a couple things at our disposal. For this boss, if you just want to be self-sufficient on a tank, I actually end up using King's right here. So we'll go ahead and use that to diffuse the damage from that tank frontal. And then the next one, we're going to use one of our longer cooldowns, I believe. So Oblivion Wave is going to come out. We're going to just eat that up with Ardent Defender. And then we will get our first burn phase. Unfortunately, I think we will get another Unleashed Corruption, or at least it finishes the cast, and I look around just to see if we had to do the crystals again. But we don't get a super good burn phase here. We don't have Lust up for another 77 seconds, something like that. So we're not going to take the boss super low, but we are still going to get him down to about 80% health, something like that. And right here, now we are thinking about bubbling. So we're going to bubble the next one just so we don't get taken super low. We know we have Ardent Defender coming up. We also have access to Wings and Eye of Tyr. So we're going to be trying to rotate between cooldowns. Oblivion Wave is going to come out. We're going to use Ardent Defender to diffuse damage on that one. And then we will have Eye of Tyr, which I actually commit for just damage purposes. I'm not super worried. And we actually get a spawn, so they ping. I go ahead and taunt the mob over here. And this is where I pop Kings and Toll just to make sure that I have a little bit of extra survivability. Tons of extra healing on Word of Glory. And I'm just trying to do as much damage to this Awakened Void Stone as I possibly can. Still feeling pretty good. We end up phasing the boss, but once again, we do not have Bloodlust here. So it's not going to be the most efficient burn phase, not doing too much damage to this boss. But we are surviving plenty as a tank. We already have our Kings and our Bubble coming off cooldown pretty soon. So with the help of our Defender, we can kind of bridge the gap between those. And I think it's important to just show this fight as a tank, this full fight. I know I skipped the other ones, but I think it's important to show this one just because rotating cooldowns is very, very important. We're going to Ardent Defender, diffuse the damage off of that tank frontal. And if you wanted to be a little bit more conservative, I know I use Eye of Tyr for damage a lot of the time, but if you wanted to just be chilling out a little bit more and save that for the Oblivion Waves, you can definitely do that as well. I have Prismatic Barrier on from the Mage, so I don't need to commit anything for that one. We will use Eye of Tyr for damage. And the next Oblivion Wave is going to come out. We're going to break the shield. I actually don't think I pop anything for that one. I just kind of raw dog that one, which is maybe not the best idea. But we pop Bloodlust and we get our good burn here. I have Wings, I have Toll, I have Hammer of Wrath, so we're going to be hitting this boss for a ton at this point. And this is where we're going to get our major burn phase here. So we'll pop Trinket. We'll try and do as much damage as humanly possible. And I don't even refresh Consecration because I'm focused on popping other stuff that will do maybe a little bit more damage. And right here, now we have Kings, we have Bubble, we have Ardent Defender all the way back up. Those burn phases really give you a lot of time to get your cooldowns back. So right here, we're going to still pop Ardent Defender even though we have a King's proc. Just make sure we are totally self-sustained and our healer doesn't have to come over here to help us for any reason. And the next one is going to come through. We're going to pop our Kings. And then that will take us to the last burn phase. We'll be able to quickly take out this Voidstone monstrosity and time the 13. So I know it's been a while since I've uploaded Prop Paladin gameplay, but the plan is to do that a little bit more often. So leave a like on the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.